Welcome to Ribbon. This is a C# tutorial, and we're working on printing text. So if we go back to solo learn, you should see printing text over here. Okay, we click on that. Now we've already worked on this before, so this should be pretty easy. We worked on displaying an output with console write line, and actually let's go back. Sorry about that. I was on the wrong page. Make sure that this arrow is all the way back. Okay, so it says displaying output, and we have console write, and then we have console write line. Those are two different methods, and I'm going to show you the difference. Console write line terminates this method and it moves to the next line. So if we have, let me delete all this, go back to Visual Studio, and we put in console dot write line, and inside the brackets we're going to just put let's just put 10. Ctrl Fn and F5 for debugging. Okay, and as you can see, you see 10, and the cursor is on the next line. Okay, so if we do something like, if we copy this and we paste this and we take out we take out line and we just have console write, and we copy this. Actually, we're going to make this value 20, and we're going to paste this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what do you think is going to actually show up? So we have console write line, it's going to terminate to the next line, and then you have console write, which is going to stay on the same line and run the next method, which is console write again, and that's going to stay on the same line and then run the next method, and so on and so on. So you should see 10, next line, it should be 20, 20, 20. Okay, go to debug, see if that worked. As you can see, we have 10, 20, 20, 20, 20. So basically, console write line terminates to the next line, and console write, which is something completely different, stays on the same line. Okay. And it says, note the parentheses after the write line method. This is the way to pass data or arguments to the method. It's right here. So this is where our data is inside these parentheses. It's a string. In our case, write line is the method. Write line is the method, and we pass hello world to it as an argument, and it's basically saying it's a string. Okay, so this is an argument, right? So let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the question is, drag and drop from the options below to display learning C#. So this is what we want to see. So as you can see, we have console. Well, we know it's not read, and we know it's not print, so it must be write line. And for the argument, I think it's learning C#. See if that works. Yep, that worked. So next, we're working with displaying the output, which I've already touched up on. We already know how to display an output. Let me just show you though. We're going to go back to Visual Studio, and we're going to delete that bottom part. Hold on. And we want to display something. So we're going to say integer x equals 5. Okay. Now we have a variable which is x, but it's not being declared. As you can see, it says unnecessary assignment of value x because we're not using it. So in order to use it and display something, we put console write line, and inside these brackets we can actually put the variable name, which is x. Okay, so if we type in that and we go to debug, you should see 5. Okay. Hold on. Alright, so that's pretty simple. Double backslash is called a comment, and this code will not be executed. So if we put Ctrl Fn F5 and go to debug, you're not going to see the word this comment because it's basically meant for reading only. It's not meant to be executed inside your code. It basically gives you directions. Okay, so we're going to touch on that later. So let's move down here to displaying a formatted string. Okay, so this is a little bit difficult when you think about it, but it's really not. So we have console write line, and we have a blank placeholder. Inside these parentheses, it's going to run a placeholder, which starts with 0 and works its way up. So it's always going to start with 0, 1, 2, 3. And with y, we have the same thing. It's 1. And outside of the parentheses, we need to separate it with a comma. And it's x and then y. So it's 0 and then 1. And if you ran this, you would see that it's going to run 10 and 20. So let me just show you, give you an example. Okay, so let's just type in integer y equals, let's just put 10, okay. So let's say we want to display that, right, inside of parentheses. All we're going to do is type x equals, make the curly brackets, and then we're going to put a comma, then we're going to put y equals, make the curly brackets. Okay, and then outside of these parentheses, we want to separate it with a comma, right? And then we want to put the placeholder for x is 0. It always starts with 0. And then the placeholder for y, which is 1, okay? And this 0 represents this position right here. So that 0 is going to represent x, because we want it to display x, which is 5, okay? And then the next placeholder is 1, so we want to type in y, and it should display 5 and 10 for the debug. So it's just basically a placeholder, basically, that's it. 5 and 10, there you go. Now if we wanted to do something else, just to show you how this works, z equals 20, then we put something like z equals, what do you think this placeholder is going to be inside of here? It's going to be 2. Okay, and if we put a comma and we put z, and run debug, you should see, yeah, 5, 10, 20. Okay, so I hope that you understand that. Basically, it starts with 0, right? And it works its way up. 0, 1, 2. And these are just the placeholders for them. 0, 1, 2. Okay, so let's go back and let's go to a next question. Hold up. Okay, so the question says, what is the output of this code? A equals 4, B equals 2. This is console write A, console write B. Now, what do you think the output of this is? Pause the video and come back when you have the answer. Alright, so you should see, well, we know the variable A is 4, and we know the variable B is 2. But it says console write, so that means it's going to be on the same line. So it should be 4 and 2 on the same line. And as you can see, it says 4 and 2. Alright, that's it for printing text.